to build when you don't have a blueprint. It's almost impossible. But once you have your blueprint, okay, all of a sudden what was a dream begins to be conceptualized, and all of a sudden you begin to see things begin to manifest in this realm that up to this point has only manifested in another realm. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'll be introducing you to Portals University, giving you details as to what it is, okay? What is it? How does it work? Why does it work, etc. People are jumping on. Again, as you're jumping on, let me know who you are and where you're watching from. I'm going to just give it a minute or two for a couple more people to dive onto this thing. And while people are jumping on, I'm going to just play a quick Portals University 2023 intro video, and then we're going to be diving into this. One more thing. If you do me a huge favor, this would be incredible. Hit the share button. If you guys would hit share, if you care, please share. I won't reverse it. And this is going to be good. Hey, listen, thanks for joining me. Let's do this. Portals University intro video, and then we're going to dive into some stuff here in just a couple minutes. Let's go. You were born for this day, a spirit being with a body, with a soul, knit together in the generational encoding of your ancestral bloodline, yet redeemed in the blood of the Lamb. Eternity has been embedded in your heart. You know there's more. Destiny beckons you, silently, like a foreign language you struggle to comprehend. Then there's the resistance, the betrayals, the disappointments, the grief, the control, and the system. Yet, despite it all, you can sense a glimmer of hope, a subtle shift, a spiritual season coming to an end, and something new beginning to sprout from the soil of your heart. A faint doorway, an access point, a threshold. Are you still listening? Am I talking to you? Here's the good news. You don't have to wait for something to happen in the spirit. There is an open portal of opportunity that awaits you. But you'll have to do the work to discern, engage, and take dominion of your garden in order to bring it into His. It is not a question of God's will for you to have abundant life. It is a question of if it is your will to bring your life into alignment with His. The portals are open. His answer is yes. What's yours? My name is Darren Stott, pastor, author, podcaster, and founder of Supernaturalist Ministries. I'm an example of redemption and transformation. He's done it for me and thousands of others that we've worked with. I would like to invite you to be a part of a brand new 7-month Supernatural Academy that we are calling Portals University, an online, mobile-friendly school that will work on your desktop, iPad, and your cell phone. 7 months, 7 modules, 7 live coaching sessions, activations, and prayer sessions. Access it from anywhere and whenever it works best for you. Our curriculum includes discerning divine opportunities, how to open heavenly portals, 9 ways to prepare for unprecedented favor, how to partner with God, the law of commanded blessing, the secret to sustaining an open portal, and how to identify rock portals. To get started, click the link, set up your payment and profile. Use an email that you actually check, because we'll be sending you emails and reminders. Get started with the introductory course and then get ready, because September 26th, we begin moving forward. This is a limited time opportunity and not necessarily for everybody, but if it's for you, if God is speaking to you, enroll today, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. We'll see you in Portals University.
Portals University, it was just wonderful because I was in the cycle of just being stuck with some things, and unless somebody just kind of takes you by the hand to just unpack it, sometimes you just never get there. And so it's just such an honor that, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you did this.
So the Portals University class has been so helpful to help me be willing to dream for bigger things than what I have. Because I've been through business where it's imploded where it's been feeling like I'm just making ends meet. I'm really appreciating identifying defeater beliefs and then receiving from God what he's made me to do, and then dreaming with him. And it's also helped me to have practical things like how to connect with people and how to change my physical space, how to clean out my clutter from previous season when I'm making a transition. And that is producing energy that is then helping with momentum.
So for most of my life, I've had a sense that God created me for something that's beyond just my day-to-day survival or existence, something that's rooted in purpose, yet I've struggled with clarity, direction, and what I'll call brain clutter, which has kept me from fully engaging in his plan. However, through Portals University, I've learned that the direction I've been seeking is already there. And God used Pastor Darren to show me that my entire life has been preparing me for it. As a result, I'm being set free from the hamster wheel of constantly wondering, what is my purpose? What is my call? And which direction do I run in? Self-defeating false beliefs of work harder to receive favor were broken as Pastor Darren taught on identifying negative patterns and religiously protecting rest, which I still need to get better at, if I'm being totally honest. But now I'm confident that I'm pursuing the right direction because I can trust that God has called me, shaped me, equipped me, and is currently positioning me. But it's up to me to carve out a space where I can identify and step into his positioning. And that's actually a pretty empowering thought. So now I'm working to clear obstacles that are potential stumbling blocks, launch several projects that I put on the shelf for years out of uncertainty or insecurity, and build the brand that God has designed for me to carry out his purpose in my calling. So if you need help with clearing the noise, clarifying the call, and identifying God's opportunities and direction, I highly recommend Portals University.
Hey guys, good. All right, so I'm not going to keep that going because there's some things that I'll actually just go through in person. If we haven't met yet, if this is your first time seeing me, like, what is going on? Who is this guy? My name is Darren Stott, okay, and I lead an international equipping school that's called, yep, you guessed it, Portals University, where we're helping people discover their authority and the unique windows of supernatural opportunity that are opening in their life, okay, using a wineskin composed of 7 revelatory systems that are unique to our ministry right on your cell phone, helping busy people. Okay, I know we're all busy these days, helping busy people upgrade their ordinary lives from the menial, okay, into a wild adventure with Jesus. And so if you are watching this tonight and you say, hey, Darren, I am here because I'm totally a supernaturalist. I have dreams and visions. I discern things. I see things. It's been a bit of a lonely journey. I haven't fit into the typical kind of Christian thing. I've got all this kind of supernatural activity, but it hasn't necessarily fused with my daily life. I'm not necessarily seeing practical fruitfulness within my daily life. It's almost like there's a disconnection between the things of the Spirit and the things that are natural. And for many people, that's your reality, okay? It's like you've got a relationship with the Father, but the things of your Father's world aren't necessarily translating into your ordinary, everyday life. And so this video tonight, we're talking about why it is that many people lack a supernatural blueprint. And I'll just give you the answer right off the bat. The reason why most people are not necessarily engaging the dream of God for their life is because they're actually battling through they're battling through many years of compounded disappointment. Okay, and because of all of these years And because of all of these disappointments, okay, we think about that word for a quick second, disappointment. The word dis means to remove, and appointment means your appointment. So every time you're disappointed, there's an opportunity to believe a lie, and that is that you have missed your appointment. You are now unappointed, okay? And this is one of the reasons why many people, many supernaturalists, okay, they have a supernatural theology, but when the rubber actually meets the road, at 30,000 feet, everything is great. But on the tarmac level, when it comes to just everyday real life, there's a disconnect between the things of the Spirit and what they're living in. And what does that look like? That looks like a lack of opportunity. It looks like a lack of favor. It looks like praying for a lot of people without necessarily seeing a lot of miracles, okay? It looks like doing a lot of things without necessarily seeing a lot of fruit. We certainly know that it's not like this for everybody, okay? When you look at various apostles and prophets, when you look at these influencing ministries, and they have stories, and they have up-to-date stories and testimonies of supernatural favor and supernatural momentum, sometimes that can hurt that much more because we're like, God, I know that you're no respecter of persons, but maybe you are. Like when I look at these ministries and I look at these people, when I look at their passion, when I look at their excitement, when I look at their fruitfulness, it just doesn't seem fair. Like, how could it be, okay, that I'm doing my thing and I'm trying to be obedient to your word. I'm living my life with integrity. I'm doing all of this stuff. And how can it be that you got these ministers that are walking in such unprecedented favor and such unprecedented, they got so much momentum, and here I am, I'm struggling just to find a job. I'm struggling just to stay in a marriage. I'm struggling just to get my kids to like me, okay? Again, I think that it goes back to this place where over time, we end up with a portfolio of many, many, many disappointments, and we begin to believe a lie that we have been unappointed, okay? Meaning this, that we no longer engage hope, right? And when opportunities come, we might not take them seriously, okay? Because if we take them seriously, then all of a sudden we get quite excited thinking that maybe this might be it, maybe this might be our opportunity. Also, because of a sequence and series of past rejections, and because of the hurt associated with being rejected, that's an actual spirit of rejection becomes a part of the anatomy of our soul, so that we actually begin to sabotage our own fruitfulness before we ever get to see or experience any of the fruit. Okay, that spirit of rejection inside of us will actually sabotage relationships and opportunities. And all of this is happening subconsciously. Nobody would ever say, I'm going to intentionally sabotage my own success. I don't want to be fruitful. I don't want to be successful. So I'm going to sabotage this. Okay. Nobody thinks that way, but there is a operating system at work within many, many people that actually creates a disconnect between the dream of God, the vision of God, the napkin and the pen analogy that I gave you, and the ability to be able to take that napkin, to take that pen, to begin to process it with the spirit of wisdom and revelation, and to see it become an actual blueprint. Disappointment is one of the biggest pandemics that we have within the church. Okay, disappointment has been an ongoing pandemic, and it is what keeps there. It's what creates a chasm, a Grand Canyon between the dream of God for our lives and where we're at practically. So we begin to engineer our lives in a very conservative manner. We begin to engineer our lives in such a way where we can be Christians, we can be supernaturalists, and we can have supernatural theology and even supernatural encounters. And yet there's a great divorce between our spirituality and our practical everyday life. And then that presents a problem. What's the problem? All of a sudden, a crazy opportunity comes up. All of a sudden, somebody calls you on the phone. All of a sudden, your boss wants to promote you. Something big happens. And all you have are these dominant voices of fear, shame, disappointment, rejection, and they're all showing up, and it's infiltrating all of your ability to even see clearly and even begin to process through it. And because of all of these signals, okay, we call it spiritual warfare. But the reality is, it's a form of psychological warfare that's being manipulated by the enemy. Absolutely. But the truth is that in many of these cases, it's not actually the enemy playing with our heads. It's our own heads playing with us because we have never actually processed through our own damaged experiences. So therefore, we have given up. Given up on this concept of calling, given up on this concept of divine assignments from heaven, given up on the gifts of the Spirit, given up on even our willingness to be a part of a community. You're like, man, Darren, you sound like an expert on this. You sound like a disappointment expert. Yes, hello everybody. My name is Darren Stott, and I am a disappointment expert. I am an expert when it comes to thinking that I believe in God, I believe in the supernatural, but this great chasm, this great divorce between my theology and the potential of what could be versus my practical everyday life. And I'll explain it to you. So my grandpa was a pastor. My dad was a pastor. My dad had a desire for education and Christian education, which meant that my entire world took what composed of my home and the church where I attended on Sundays and then every single day of the week. You see, our church was my school. My church was my church. My church was my whole entire world. My mom was the principal of the school. My sister was one of the teachers in the school. My dad was the Grand Pumbaa CEO. I don't know. My dad was the pastor, okay? It was my entire world. You also have to realize that that to my memory, I grew up in the perfect home. In fact, I remember being critical of my friends whose parents were divorced or critical, somewhat judgmental. I was always a nice kid, but somewhat judgmental when I would see my friends' homes that were quite dysfunctional. In my opinion, our church was the perfect church. My family was the perfect family. And so that was quite a shock when I began to go through my teenage years. And there's something about, and I'm sure you can remember this in your own life, when you start to go through adolescence and you begin to mature, the rose-colored lenses begin to come off. And all of a sudden, you begin to see things differently and in a more of a realistic manner. And so that's happening for me as I'm going through kind of adolescence and I'm starting to become just aware of different things, different imperfections, okay? And while that's happening, the fire of God is burning with such intensity in our dynamic, in that we were hosting revival, 3 years of revival, thousands of people coming through our church. This is the 90s, okay? We've got Bill Johnson coming through, and John and Carol Arnott coming through, and Randy Clark coming through. We're doing church every night of the week. The revival's breaking out in our school. We're traveling all over the world. We're going to Australia for like 6 months to a year, traveling to Ireland, God is everything is going amazing, but the fire of God is burning so hot. Issues are coming to the surface. People don't necessarily know how to deal with these issues. My parents are trying to work through their issues. I'm starting to see their issues, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. My parents don't have issues. I'm starting to see issues in our church. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why am I seeing this? And then all of a sudden, it kind of culminates, kind of climaxes to this point, where my parents explained to me that they are actually going to be splitting up, and they're actually going to be going through divorce. And it was actually during this time, and I might get the sequence off. I'm looking back at this time, but according to the way that I remember it, it was like my dad was resigning the church, moving out of the state. I was going to have to find a new school. My mom was going to help me find a new school. My best friend told me at that time that he was going to be moving to California. This is my childhood friend since the second grade. All at the same time. My mom and I are going to have to leave our church. My dad's moving out of the state. I got to go to a new school, and we don't even have a church to go to. It was like all at once. My entire world was being blown up, right? And all I remember thinking was, doesn't anybody see what's going on here? Obviously, the devil is attacking my family, and does anybody care? And look at all these issues, and isn't somebody going to do something? Isn't somebody going to say something? And I remember trying to say something. Guys, don't you see? This is the devil. This isn't God. Like, what is happening? Going to God, saying, what is happening? Are you really going to allow this? Okay. And so get plugged into new school, literally making all new friends. At this new school, I was a nobody. At my old school, I was the prince. At my new school, I was a nobody, right? Also, I had these various dreams of what I was going to be when I grow up, and all of a sudden, I realized being kind of in a real school for the first time in my life. Our school is a small Christian, but all of a sudden I'm in a real school, and I go and I meet with my high school counselor my junior year. She asked me what colleges I would like to apply to, and I tell her New York University, and she looks at my transcripts and she says, "You're not going to New York University. You don't have the grades to get into UCLA or into New York," because I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a director. And so, she said, probably the best route for you is to get into one of the community colleges, get your AAA, and then see where you can go from there. When she said that, I thought to myself, I'm not going to community college. I remember thinking to myself, this isn't supposed to be happening. We're supposed to be getting ready for the final move of God that's going to culminate to the rapture. And what is going on? It felt like everything that I had been a part of up to that moment. It felt like all the prophetic words that I had received up to that moment. It felt like they were all lies. It felt like I had been living a massive lie up to that moment. I have had some amazing, deep, profound, life-changing encounters with God. Encounters that I could never deny. Things that were so profound and supernatural that I knew without a doubt that I wasn't faking it. These encounters with God. So during this time, I never denied God, and I never, I was always pretty careful as far as what I would say to the Lord. But man, I was so disappointed with the scene, with the church scene, and with all of these ministers that we were a part of, our revival community, and so I was never done with God. But man, I was done with the church, and I was done with pastors, and now I was going to a private school, and I was going there with other PKs. But man, I was so judgmental. Initially I was just broken. I was just broken. I mean, initially, I would just cry, right? Just cry and try to process. But then eventually, there's that thing. All right, Darren, stop, man up. And eventually that brokenness turned to just full blown bitterness. And I was just like, man, forget that. Forget the church. Forget everything. Okay. And it was like that for
for a couple of years, and it felt like forever. And the church I was part of went down to about 20 people. And then I actually had heard that a gal that had been saved underneath my grandpa's ministry, discipled by my parents, she was in Australia doing youth revival, knew her very, very, very well. The Lord had spoken to her and told her that she was supposed to come back and begin pastoring our church. And I had so much disappointment. I had so much, I was so just kind of bitter that I was not happy about this. In fact, I was quite negative and spoke quite poorly of Pastor Gail when I heard that she was going to be coming back to the church. And I was just like, please, do you think that does she think that she is going to be able to restore this thing back to the state that it used to be in? And of course not. So why should I be excited about this? Well, she comes back and she gets a hold of me, and out of respect, I met with her, and I get together with her, and she begins apologizing to me. And I'm kind of tripping by this because I'm like, why are you apologizing? I finally said to her, I said, hey, listen, Gail, I love you, I appreciate you, I honor you, I respect you, but you haven't done anything to me. You've never done anything wrong to me or my family, and so you don't need to apologize. And she says, I do need to apologize because somebody needs to apologize, and somebody needs to stand in the gap. And so she said, will you forgive me? And I just out of respect, I just said, well, of course, I will. I forgive you. And that was a big deal. And the reason why that was a big deal is because I hadn't forgiven anyone. I had become so hard-hearted, so bitter, and my bitterness was fueling my own justification for my own selfishness and for my own sin. And I would become quite proud. I'd become quite religious in my rebellion against God, because why live for the Lord if all of his people are just liars and his church is just a big show? And I was on this hunting trip, and while I was on this hunting trip, I had a dream. And when I was dreaming, I was back at the church, and I was leading worship as I used to do when I was a kid. And in the dream, the place was packed out full of people, and the atmosphere was so thick and full of the presence of the Lord. And I felt amazing. It felt so incredible. And I was singing a song that I had never sung before. And when I woke up from the dream, I was still singing this song that I had never sung before. And when I stopped singing it, the song was gone. But that hope was not gone. That hope was in my heart. And the Lord had used the dream to put a desire in my heart to go back to the same church that I said that I would never go back to. So I did. So I went back and just started hanging out and just started attending. And little by little, hope started coming alive. And to make a long story longer, God had already spoken to Pastor Gail about her role of restoration and to prepare the place for me to be able to step into a place of ministry. And you have to remember that when she came back, I wasn't even living for the Lord, and yet she could see something in me that I couldn't see in myself, that actually the majority of the people in our community couldn't see in me. And Pastor Gail just started calling that out. And I started just going through a lot of ministry, and over time, it took a long time. It took a couple years before I was even called into ministry. And then at that point, it took another 5 years of going through Bible school. But now I am actually pastoring the church that I said I would never pastor. In fact, Andrew and I have been there pastoring for going on 14 years. We have over 1,300 people that call it home. We're averaging close to 600 on a Sunday. I've written 3 books. I get to mentor people. I get to cast demons out of people. I get to see people healed. I get to see people saved. and I'm literally, okay, living the dream that the Lord gave to me. And so that is my testimony, and that means that I have a certain level of authority, because your authority is rooted in your testimony. And because this is the journey that the Lord has brought me on, I have a responsibility, a gift, a call, an assignment to find people that are right now where I once was, and to help them come into a place of their own restoration, so that the dream of God that used to be in their heart, that used to be alive and hot and vibrant, so the vision that they used to have, that they've since lost, that can actually come alive, so that they can re-engage the dream of God that He had in His heart when He created them. And if that's you, then I am looking forward to getting to know you and hearing your story and partnering with you to see these divine windows of opportunity, these things that I call portals, okay? Seeing these things open, and to see you not freaked out, and to see you not sabotage these opportunities. You know, if we're honest, we would say that we realize that there's no lack of the presence of God. Perhaps you feel like there is. Perhaps you're going through a wilderness season, okay? It's time for that season to end. It's time to come. Listen, there's no lack of His presence, okay? I think most of us would agree that there's no lack within God's power. He truly is omnipotent. He truly is the all-powerful God. I think that if most of us are honest, we would say that when it comes to the problem, not very many of us are going to be bold enough and proud enough to say that God Himself is our problem, that our problem is God. What a lot of us are going to say is that we think that the problem could be that we have forgotten our what. God, what have you called me to actually do? And when we forget what God has called us to do, then that's when we just jump into the hamster wheel of life, taking on more and more responsibility, trying to keep up, juggling more and more balls, and we're doing so many things. When you look, like when I ask you, what are you doing? You could fill up all of these pages of all of the activities and tasks that you're doing. But when I ask you, what has God called you to do? And you sit there with an empty page and a pen, and you're not writing, okay? Another problem is, how are you going to do what God has called you to do, right? Well, if you don't have anything on your page, and all of a sudden I ask you, how are you going to do that? Well, there's nothing on my page, so how am I going to do nothing, okay? I mean, and we feel the pressure here because we're doing everything. We're doing all of this stuff. But what has God called you to do? And how are you going to do what God has called you to do? And if you don't know, and I'm asking you these questions, what are you going to feel? Immediately overwhelmed, which is where we go into our escape cycles. So this is what most Americans, they find themselves in this place where there's supernatural desire. The original blueprint that God framed out is embedded in our spirit. We talked a lot about that on our webinar this last week. So the garden dynamic is in our spirit, testifying, there's more, there's more, there's more. Engage. But we have so much stuff going on, so many activities. And then when it actually comes down to, God, what have you called me to do? We sit there and we say, I don't know. And so then when it comes to how are you going to do what God's called, how am I going to do what God's called me to do? I don't even know what God has called me to do. And then if you knew how, then I'd ask you why. Like, why are you going to do this thing that God has called you to do? And then how, you see, there's a bit of a sequence that needs to be worked on. There's a bit of a wineskin that needs to be worked on. And most people have no idea. They don't even know where to start. So with all that being said, this is why we created Portals University. That Portals University is the wineskin to take you through this process of connecting the great chasm between your supernatural reality, waking you up to your kind of forcing you to look at your supernatural identity, really holding you accountable to not be overwhelmed by all of your current responsibilities, so that you can be forced to look at your supernatural identity and then be forced to look at your supernatural destiny, realizing you don't have to be a victim of this trajectory that you are on. You can experience a pattern interrupt. You can carve out your own pattern interrupt, and you don't have to be a victim of fate. And many people that watch this video tonight are going to feel like they're a victim of fate. They're a victim of circumstance. They're just going with the flow, and whatever comes their way, that will be their reality. But you do not have to live life that way. If you're willing to do the work, okay, and if you're willing to allow me to coach you through a process, okay, and this is what we're looking at. Portals University, a 7-month process, okay? A wineskin composed of 7 modules where you're going to actually learn how to discern, how to steward, right? And how to take action when these, so again, how to discern. So how to discern when a portal of opportunity, when a window of opportunity is opening, when God is saying, here's something that didn't exist yesterday and it exists today, how you can actually discern that. Because if you can't even discern it, how are you going to steward it, right? And then as you're stewarding something, it's almost like the picture of a mother carrying a baby in her womb, and she's carrying this baby, and all of a sudden the time comes to give birth. It's that moment to take action. It's that moment to get to the hospital. It's that moment when the doctor says it's time to push. So it's how to discern, how to steward, how to carry something those 9 months to that point where it's ready to be birthed, and then how to take action that moment when it's time to actually give birth to the baby. So we begin month 1, okay, September, it's coming up. We begin September 11th, and we begin with understanding your defeaters, your subconscious programming that's running in the background. This is a conversation that keeps coming up. We show you how to discern those defeater beliefs, okay, that programming in the background, so that you can dismantle it right off the bat, okay? And the first 2 months, we also take you through an expectation assessment. So we help you identify the areas of your heart where there's hope deferred, okay? Where the heart is sick. In the very first mentoring call, because we actually do a mentoring call every month. So there's 7 mentoring calls that we'll do together. And on the very first mentoring call, and if you miss a call, by the way, you always get the link sent out to you. You can always go back and replay it and watch it again and again and again. But our very first mentoring call, we actually walk you through the process of clarifying, because this whole thing is really about clarity. It's in you. The data is in your spirit, I'm telling you. But we help you discern and clarify your calling. So that when I ask you at the end of 7 months, when I ask you, what has God called you to do, you'll be able to give an answer. And then when I ask you, what are the assignments that God has given to you, you'll be able to give an answer. And you'll be able to differentiate the difference between your divine call and your assignments. And so what are we offering? Okay. Clarity. Okay. And because you're going to have clarity if you're going to have courage. I think a lot of times in the body of Christ, we're trying to skip a step. We're trying to use the Holy Spirit to give people courage, okay? But they need to have some clarity before they can have courage. I don't want you to courageously do something that you've never done before unless you have clarity regarding what it is that you're making a commitment to, right? And so, again, what are we offering? We're offering clarity first, so that you can have courage second. Fierce, joyful courage. And this is a huge part of my calling and my impartation that I've received from Jesus, is that joyful courage it's a game changer. You'll find yourself going into situations and you will fear no evil. You'll know that you are on divine assignment. And so when it comes to these things, well, this sounds pretty intense. What would something like this cost? It's kind of funny because after we did Portals University last year, and it was incredible. We had so many people go through it with so many testimonies. In fact, just last night, one of our Portals students was at church, and she gave me a book that she just got finished writing. And this is what's so exciting about her testimony. She's been working on this book for 10 years. Okay. She's been working on this book for 10 years and just lacked the clarity and the courage to get it out. Right. When she went through Portals University, she got the boldness, the clarity, the courage, everything that she needed to get it done. And she wrapped it up and she gave it to me. How would you like to be working on something? How would you like to be carrying something in your womb for 10 years? Okay. Anyways, she gave birth to it. I got the book. She gave it to me last night. I'm so proud of her. Okay. And so anyways, point being, lots of testimonies. And when we were done with Portals University, I had opportunity to do coaching with individuals. I had people asking me if I would do like paid coaching, and I know that life coaching is a big deal now. I got friends that do life coaching. I think that's awesome. At times it's tempting. I mean, I'm a pastor, okay, and that's basically kind of a life coach, I guess. But hopefully with some power. I love counseling, but man, I love it when the power of God just shows up and does in a second, right? What it would take me years to process through with people. And when it came right down to it, I was like, all right, so the average cost to do coaching is $150 an hour, right? Well, if I was to all of a sudden start spending all this, and also when there's always time, and we talk about that in Portals University, this whole thing of I don't have time, but like really, I'm going to start like coaching individuals and like charging $150, an hour. Yeah, really. And then when am I doing this? Right. And so again, people are called to that profession. I've got friends that are called to that profession. I think that's awesome. But with that being said, if I was to take, let's say that you became a client of mine, and I was going to be your coach, okay, your life coach, your soul coach, okay, and let's say I was charging you $150. When you look at the number of hours in Portals University, the cost of the coaching time would be $4,500. Okay, maybe I should be doing, coach. No, $4,500 for the amount of hours that you get. On average, you're getting 2 videos every Monday sent to your portal. It's sent usually at midnight or 1 a.m. I forget. You wake up on Monday morning, you've got mail. You look at your mail, it'll say there's new content in your portal. You click that. There's on average about 2 videos ready to go for you, okay, every week. And then on top of that, we've got our once a month, hour and a half mentoring call. So I think that this is pretty awesome. Why? Because you get about over 30 hours of content and coaching, and you get all of this. How much is it? Well, for the whole thing, if you were to add it all up, it'd be $245. $245 for 7 months. Okay, which breaks down to be $35 a month. Which is pretty awesome. I mean, you would never be able to get a life coach for $35 a month. And the way that this works is that we're taking a whole bunch of people through, a whole bunch of people all at once. And I think the key word is works. Okay. It really works. We have so many testimonies, and I'll be putting them out over the next few weeks between now and September 11th when we launch. But it is so cool to see what the Lord did last year, and it's gonna be so much fun to see what the Lord does. This people writing books, people working on screenplays, people starting businesses, people's marriages being restored, people being reconciled with their children, people actually getting plugged into churches when they literally thought that they were done with it. Like, this is why I get just so incredibly excited, is that when I look at what the Lord did last year in Portals University, He took my testimony and He duplicated it 180 times. That is so stinking cool. That is so stinking awesome. Like that and so I have never spent this amount of this amount of time with this amount of intensity, because I think me just with one person, it might blow somebody up. It'd be just too much. But the cool part is that you get to kind of work through it at your own pace. I think if I was just to pick on you and focus my intense Darren intentional gaze, time, energy, and just to really go after you specifically, like we do with Portals University, it would be too much. It might blow you up. Okay. But because I'm not picking on you, because this is going out to a couple hundred of our students, this isn't personal. This isn't me picking on you. And it's going to feel really good to know that we're actually building something line upon line, precept upon precept. Here's the other thing, is that if for some reason you're just like, no, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And no, I'm not finding courage and I'm not finding clarity. Sweet. Just email us and we'll just give you your money back. Right. And so for some reason you decide to do this because you're watching this tonight, or you do one of our webinars or something, and you're just like, I thought it was going to be something, but it's not what I thought. Like, sweet. Just email us. Right. And it's no big deal. Okay. And you can quit at any time. I mean, you can quit at any time, or just be like, nope. Okay. And I think that's awesome, right? So, but if we are able to deliver, and you are able to get clarity regarding your calling, clarity regarding your purpose, if you are able to get the courage that you need to really say yes to God, man, how awesome is that going to be? And so, Portals University. I wanted to show you this too, because it doesn't start till September 11th. But if you get in there now, we've got like tons of stuff in there already ready to go for you. So let me just show you everything that we already have in there. So let's say that you were to go in tonight and be like, okay, I'm ready to be a student at Portal. Okay, awesome. All right, you would have access right now to what we call Portal Labs. Okay, and Portal Labs is all the extracurricular content that we have that almost has nothing to do with the 7-month stuff that we're going through. It's just straight up freaky deaky supernatural equipping. Okay, I don't know any other way of saying it. So, like, for those of you that were on our webinar this last week, where we were talking about pyramids, okay, and access points. Next week we're doing another one. We're gonna do it right on. I'm not even gonna mess around with Zoom. That was crazy. I had like 400 people sign up. I could only get 100 people on. I feel like I'm just a man, right? I'm just a dude, but I wasn't ready. And then, anyways, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with what I know, which is Facebook and YouTube. So next week, next Wednesday night, we're going to do a webinar on aliens and all this stuff that's coming out right now. We're going to talk about the abductions and the mutilations that are taking place in Peru. They're calling them the face peelers, the 7-foot tall face peelers. So we're going to get into this whole thing of aliens, UFOs, demons, and Nephilim next Wednesday night. That'll be from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And guess what? As soon as that's done, that will be in Portals Labs. That will be in our labs, and you'll have access to it. Last Wednesday's session is being uploaded to Portals Labs. When you get in there, okay, you're immediately going to see these videos. Here's the first 10. This is on counterfeit portals, spiritual energies, and vortexes. These are not your grandma's portals. The dark side is trending. Night school, portals in the Bible. That's the number one question I get on social media when people see our stuff. What, portals aren't in the Bible? Yeah, they're everywhere. In fact, for those of you that were on our webinar last week, you're already seeing them everywhere. Just in Eden alone, you've got the tree, that's a portal. You got 4 rivers that are portals, okay? You've got Mount Zion, mountains that are portals. All of a sudden, you begin to look in the culture and you begin to see counterfeit portals. And that's basically, in a nutshell, what pyramids are. They are counterfeit synthetic mountains, because the original mountain of God, Mount Zion in Eden, was the place of the throne of God, the mountain of God. It was an access point for God. And you see that with Moses on Mount Sinai, etc. So all of a sudden, you were a part of last week, and you're starting to see portals everywhere. You're starting to see them in the Bible. Okay, so portals are in the Bible. The fifth one, understanding ancient cosmology and realms. We started to get into that this last week. Types of portals. You are a portal. Okay, vortexes and hot spots. What about dream catchers? A dream catcher is essentially a portal filter. It's like the filter on a cigarette. It's supposed to catch the bad stuff. That's what a dream catcher is. It's a counterfeit portal filter to keep devils out of your dreams. Okay, can mandalas be good? That's fascinating. The ancient church and these portal journeys that they would create for ancient sacred meditation with God. Christians using demonic portals. This is happening a lot. I've got a crazy story that I tell on that one. How do Christians meditate? That was a very popular video last year. We had thousands of people actually go through just that one video. And then the newest one that we added was the War for the Earth. And this was a mentoring session that I did with a School of Supernatural Ministry in Hawaii, where I went through shapeshifters, Ouija boards. We would go through how the Mexican drug cartels are using mediums to consult with spirits to discover the snitches within their organizations, so that they can give the devil a soul, meaning that the snitches are in stitches, right? And they become a sacrifice to the devil himself. Looking at all of this is for the war for the earth, and our role as the ecclesia to engage and to begin to prepare the earth for the reentry of King Jesus, Yeshua. Last but not least, you will get Portal Dynamics. These are the bonus MP3s that we created for Sid Roth when we were on the show. It's a 4 CD set, but all 4 of these MP3. This has been very popular. People actually purchase these just even because of the Making Light of It show, where we give the first one away for free. A lot of people go on to purchase. This has been very popular. You'll get all 4 of those, including a whole thing on biblical Christian access points to engage the presence of God, which is a lot of fun. There's activations on all 4 of those MP3s. But when we spend the last 2 talking a lot about deliverance and some inner healing stuff, that all involves soul portals of the soul. So again, there's a lot there that's really exciting. You just that'll keep you busy. Okay, that'll keep you busy. Now, for those of you that are like, well, what do I do? I've been getting emails, and that's always exciting. Like, okay, what do I do? I'm down. It's just portalsuniversity.com. You just go to Portals University. Now, you're going to see a call to action, like a pink button there. Click on the pink button. That's how you sign up. If you scroll all the way to the end, because some of you might want to do this, I'm just doing this to make it extra confusing. If you scroll all the way to the end, the very last call to action, the very last pink button, will actually let you in to try the first module for free. That's an introductory module where it covers a lot of the same stuff that we are covering tonight. But at least you get to set your count up, get in there, try it out, see the flow, see how all of it works before before deciding if you're actually going to dive into the full blown all 7 modules over the 7 months. So I think it's one of those things where like, yeah, that's me. I've got a massive chasm between my supernatural theology and encounters versus my practical daily life. There needs to be a fusion of the supernatural with the natural. I've got my napkin and pen. I've got my vision. I've got the dream of God. It's scratched out. I can't give that to my builder because I need a blueprint, and I don't have that. So therefore, you don't really know what God's called you to do. You don't really know how you're going to do it. You don't really know who you're going to do it with. And if that's you, man, I'm telling you, Portals University will be the most intense discipleship dynamic that you've ever been through, and one of the most fruitful. And I know that is a bold claim, but honestly, I don't know of any other tool like this available right now. And if there is, please let me know. I'd love to learn. I'd love to learn about other resources. There's a lot of great books out there, okay? There's a lot of great Bible schools out there. There's a lot of great schools of supernatural ministry. Yet most of us are incredibly busy. Most of us have jobs and responsibilities and children, and we're just trying to keep up with everything. So most of us, we don't have the luxury of just going, of just leaving, of just dropping everything, okay? And yet we know that there's more. We know that God has called us, right? And most of us just don't have the luxury just to disconnect from everything to go to a school of supernatural ministry. But even if you did, I don't know if, like, when it's all said and done with Portals University, you will have a blueprint to the degree that you put the work into it. If you really get after it, if you're like, I'm going to do this, when it's all said and done, you will have a blueprint that is unique to you, that is between you and the Holy Spirit, that will explain who you are, how do you communicate who you are, what God has called you to do. You'll all of a sudden have clarity regarding all of your previous assignments and how they all work with God's original identity for your life. And you'll have things that you are working on right now. You're gonna have the courage. You're gonna be telling your friends, your family about these things that you're working on. And at the end of the day, it's not gonna have anything to do with Portals University. People are just gonna be looking at you like they look at like people look at me and they say, how do you do all of this stuff? Okay, you obviously you just have crazy energy. I get accused of that. Why do you go into Russia? Why do you go into Ukraine when the war just broke out? Why did you go into CHOP? Why did you do all these things? Well, I can answer all of that. I have a blueprint for my life, and I have a blueprint for the church where I have the honor of pastoring, and you should too. Okay, and I'm telling you, it's in you. You just need to be walked through kind of how to get there. So. All of that's available, portalsuniversity.com. I'm so proud of our students this last year that did it, 2022 into 2023. And I want to introduce you to two of our students that went through. It was actually a husband and a wife that we actually had a lot of couples. Let's just answer the question that we get every year on this. Do we have to pay twice if a couple is going through? No, okay? No, I don't care. God doesn't care. All right. So if you and your spouse want to go through this, cool, awesome. Just pay once. Okay. But here is an example of one of my favorite couples. I've known these guys for a long time. They're good friends. They're ministry peers. They're such pastors, have such a heart for people. They're overseers in Renaissance Coalition. They went through Portals University last year, and God did something really cool for them. And I wanted to share their story with you. Let's go. Brian and Sandy Bissent. Boom.
So, first off, I've always known that God has called and created me for a purpose, but I often struggled with vision and lacked confidence, which kept me from fully engaging the plan He had for me. However, through Portals University, I learned what my destiny is and what my core values are. God used Darren Stott to show me how my calling and assignments align for such a time as this. Now I am filled with vision and purpose. I have a game plan. If you're struggling with your next step or confidence to implement it, I highly recommend Portals University. The Rotten Portal module was especially life-changing. Through the information provided, Jesus revealed to me that I had ungodly belief, and it was generationally based around believing lies, around the institution of marriage, and in relationship with my spouse. After listening to the teachings on rotten portals, a situation occurred, and within 3 minutes, my entire belief structure, ungodly beliefs, was shifted, and I received a insight and an understanding into what marriage can be and what it is. And it's been really significant in my life and in our lives. So thank you, Darren.
I have always known there's been a call of God in my life since I was a little kid. And I just struggled with fulfilling it and understanding it. And I had dealt with a fear of man, and that was just gripping. And then maintaining my true identity. I wasn't raised in a culture where it was encouraged. Your God identity is separate from who you are. And been working on that for years. And however, through Portals University, I learned that I'm perfectly equipped and ready to fulfill the call of God in my life. And God has used Darren Stott to show me how I allowed my defeater beliefs to stop me time and time again, and how to replace them with what God has spoken over me. Jesus set me free from the old mindsets and fear of failing. Now I'm confident in who I am and whose I am. I'm working on sowing into myself to support the call on my life and not building other people's visions. And if you're struggling with your identity and purpose, I highly recommend Portals University. So.
Wow, come on. I wanted to just take a quick second to celebrate one of our Portals University students from last year, Holly, who wanted to write a book, her story, regarding her upbringing and some of the challenges that she overcame. The only problem was there was discrepancies in her story. So she had family members that didn't want her to tell her story because they had a disagreement regarding different facts in her past. Well, in Portals University, the Lord actually gave her a very unique strategy to turn her story into a fictional story. And so not use any real names and actually to be creative with the story, to use it as a platform for her to give God glory as far as what she was able to overcome, but without putting any of her family members or friends in a position that would be awkward. So the Lord gave her this incredible epiphany, and she started going to work on it. Well, at that same time, my mom was also in Portals. So my mom was one of our Portals alumni, and my mom took it very seriously, and she had her day of the week where it was designated Portals University, and my mom would go in every week and watch the videos. And she would go in every week, and she was on our monthly mentoring calls, my own mom. And through it, the Lord showed her what her calling was, and one of her assignments was also to write a book. My mom has been an author for many years, and yet the Lord gave her this incredible idea to write a children's book, and the main character is in Peru. And you guys, the Lord gave her clarity and then gave her the courage. And next month, she and her friend are flying to Peru to do research for this children's book that she is writing. She wants to make sure that she is able to capture the smells, the colors. She wants to make sure that she has her facts correct. They're going to be going into villages in Peru, and this is all a part of a dream of God that's coming alive in her. Also, I want to celebrate another one of our students. I already briefly mentioned her to you last night, but she has been working on a project for 10 years and yet lacked the clarity and the courage to get it wrapped up, to get it done. And last night she gave this project to me, and it is called Let Me Come Home. And this is by Jubilee Lee, The Voice, Bringing Jesus Unconditional Love to the Fatherless for Encountering God. It is her story. She said, she put a little note in there to me, and you guys should see the amount of work that she has done on this incredible project. And so after 10 years of hosting a dream within our heart, it is accomplished. And tonight, Jubilee, we celebrate you, one of our Portals University students. Let me come home. Now, let me tell you, in my own story, in my own journey, here's what happens. All of a sudden, you go through this whole entire sequence, and we walk you through it. But the final sequence is celebration, okay, and then evaluation. Okay, these are these final sequences. So here's what happens: you celebrate the win. Okay, you celebrate you've been faithful. You get to hear God say, "Job well done, you good and faithful servant," right? And then what do? You discern what other portals are opening within your life, and you start over. But this time you have the momentum of your previous victory that's propelling you forward, and now you have, what do you have? You have faith. You have faith because you've seen God show up. You've seen the resistance that comes after you when you begin to do something that you've never done before. You feel the voice of the voice of the resistance that's calling you an imposter. You have no right to be doing this. You have no right to be going after this. But once you do it once, okay, once you cross the threshold of this portal and you celebrate and then you evaluate and you get all of your learnings and you know, this is what I love about Pastor Gail. After she restored our church and after she took it from 20 people to over 120 people every single week. And once this took place, Pastor Gail, this is what she said to me. Well, next time I could do it way quicker. She was already thinking about next time. She was already why? Because she had all of that faith and all of those lessons learned, and she was ready to do it again. And this is one of the things I think is so cool. All of our Portals University students get access to this year, because once you sign up, every year you can go through it again and again and again. There's no cost for that. And this is what I think is so funny. We have so many Portals University students that are going to do it again this year. Why? Because they're so excited about what God's going to do in their lives this year. And there's questions that they didn't really get answered. And some of them needed to process through things that they didn't have time to process through. So I've been getting emails from so many of last year's students saying, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again because I got so much out of it, but I know that there's so much more to process through with the Lord. There's so much more to do this year. And I think that is actually one of the coolest testimonies when you have people that already went through 7 months. That's a huge commitment. And then they're like, and I'm doing it again, okay? I'm redoing the 5th grade because I just love the 5th grade so much. And I think that is absolutely amazing. So to get started, you go to Portals University. You click on the call to action. You go in there and you set up your account. Use an email that you actually check, okay? It does you no good to use a junk email, right? Use an email that you actually check. Set up the account. Get in there. Start exploring. Start going through the Portals labs, okay? And you're going to get a link to our private Facebook group. Okay, so you can get into the Facebook group. Not a lot happening in the group yet until we launch this thing on September 11th, but you do have one assignment to get in there, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, where you're from. Here's the other cool thing. Man, this is such a cool, stinking community. We got 2 gals in Portals University. They went out for a coffee. They did a meetup and they went out for a coffee and they met each other on Portals University, right? And we had students that were connecting in order to work on assignments to help each other out, people prophesying over each other. So it's such a cool community. We do utilize Facebook for that, so you can get in there. But this whole thing launches on September 11th. So you're going to want to get everything all set up. You're going to want to be familiar. You're going to want to save the link. Okay, once you get in there and you see all the videos, save that to your browser so it's super easy to find in the future. Many of you are going to get journals. Some of you are going to want to get new Bibles. All that's going to be in there. Once you start watching the videos, I'm going to be on there saying, "Are you ready?" I'm going to be getting you all amped up. I'm going to be like, "Go buy a new Bible." I'm going to be like, "Go buy a new journal." You're going to have me. Okay, I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to be like, "You're a bum, Rocky." You're going to have me yelling at you, every single week, and you're going to remember it's not personal. I'm yelling at everybody. And I'm going to be not shaming you. I'm going to be cheering you on, saying that you were born for such a time as this. So that's what I have for you, okay? And please do me a big favor. If you're excited about this, if you think that this could serve somebody else really, really well, do me a big favor. Before you say goodnight and goodbye, please hit the share button. That would be amazing. Please share this thing. But I just want to give some big shout outs to some of my friends that are on here tonight. Of course, Michael Kubisky. One of our elders, Jane Seaton, is on here tonight. One of our elders and pastors, Pastor Sandy Honduik, is on here tonight. One of my best friends, actually, I'll just say my best friend, Charlie Shamp, is on here tonight. I love you, Charlie, and I love what you're up to. Very, very cool. Ivan and Debbie are on here tonight. Love you guys. Bless you guys. Speaking of coaches, they're getting after it. Michael Carper, who makes me laugh, but he's also far deeper theologically than perhaps I will ever be. I so love Michael Carper and all of the resources that he's sending to me week after week after week, just the wild stuff that he sends to me. And so many other friends on here tonight. I believe in you. God loves you. I don't know how lame the previous season has been, but I just declare an ending to that lame season that you've been in, and I just declare a revival fire. I declare a season of empowerment, a season of awakening, a season of fruitfulness, of relational fruitfulness, financial fruitfulness, spiritual fruitfulness, and revelation, and the fruit of the Spirit, that areas where you have felt stuck, that you will feel the Holy Spirit just bump you right out of the ditch and right back on the road, right back in your lane. And areas that you have been robbed of your appointment, the devil is a liar. He can't rob you of nothing. All he can do is lie to you. And when you believe those lies, that's when you give up the things that God has given to you. It's time to take those things back. So I just declare of you the truth. The truth is that you have not been robbed of your disappointment. It is God who has anointed you and appointed you for such a time as this. And the devil is a big, fat, stinking liar. He can just shut his face, okay? And so you're not too old, okay? You're not too young, all right? You're not too divorced, okay? You're not too anything. You're just right. You're a perfect candidate to be used by the Lord, okay? In a wonderful and a powerful way. Let me pray for you. Father, I just thank you for this time that we've had together tonight. I pray that if nothing else, people would be encouraged and their hearts would be filled with fresh faith. Not just faith in God, but the supernatural faith of the Father. It would so come alive inside of them right now that they would have the discernment to be able to recognize all of the lies that they have been believing to be true, that have disempowered them. And Father, I thank you that we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. And I thank you, Lord, for this season of reprogramming and recalibrating that we are stepping into. And I pray that not one person would take the present for granted, but they would see that they have been given, that you have been given this incredible gift, this gift of life, this gift of a relationship with God himself because of his Son, Jesus the Christ. I pray that each and every person here tonight would take advantage of the life that they have been given, the grace that they have been given, the forgiveness that they have been given, the supernatural endowment from the Holy Spirit, enablement from the Holy Spirit, that each and every person here would take advantage, that we would be good stewards of the talents that you would give us, and that none of us would bury them under a tree because of our own fear, because of our own shame, but that we would say, yes, I haven't seen anything yet. The best is yet to come, and this is the kind of master that saves the best wine for last. I bless you. I call you blessed of the Lord. And I really do hope to see you in Portals University this fall. Let's go.